How to test API authentication and authorization flows. Are you curious about how to ensure that your application's API is secure? Today, we will break down the process of testing API authentication and authorization flows. This is vital for keeping your backend systems safe from unauthorized access. First, let's clarify what we mean by authentication and authorization. Authentication is all about confirming the identity of the user or system trying to access the API. This is often done using tokens, API keys, or user credentials. On the other hand, authorization determines what actions or resources the authenticated user can access. To effectively test these flows, start by identifying the authentication methods your API uses. Common methods include API keys, OAuth 2.0, JSON Web Tokens, basic authentication, or mutual transport layer security. Each method has its own testing requirements. For instance, API keys are straightforward tokens, while OAuth involves more complex token exchange processes. Next, validate the authentication mechanisms. Begin by testing with valid credentials or tokens to ensure that access is granted correctly. Then, test with invalid, expired, or missing credentials to confirm that access is denied. You should expect appropriate error responses, such as HTTP status code for 100.1.4 unauthorized access. For token-based systems like OAuth or JSON Web Tokens, verify how the system handles token expiration and the refresh token process. Once you have validated authentication, it's time to verify authorization controls. Test access to protected endpoints with users who have different roles or permissions. Attempt to access resources that exceed a user's authorization level to ensure the API correctly denies access, typically returning an HTTP status code for 100.3.4 forbidden access. Check that role-based or attribute-based access control rules are enforced as intended. Automation can be a game changer in testing authentication and authorization flows. Use automated testing tools or scripts to repeatedly test these flows, including token issuance, validation, and revocation. This helps catch any regressions or security issues early on. Security-focused testing is also essential. Conduct penetration testing to simulate real-world attacks targeting authentication and authorization weaknesses. Use fuzz testing to send unexpected authentication data to evaluate how robust the API is against such inputs. It's also important to test for vulnerabilities like token reuse or improper session management. Review error handling and logging as well. Make sure the API provides clear and consistent error messages without exposing sensitive information. Confirm that authentication failures are logged for auditing and monitoring purposes. If your API uses mutual transport layer security, verify that both client and server certificates are validated properly. Connections should be refused if certificates are invalid or missing. For practical application, let's say your API uses API key authentication. Create tests that include requests with a valid API key in headers or query parameters, expecting successful responses. Also, include requests with invalid or missing API keys, expecting HTTP status code for 101 errors. Additionally, attempt to access endpoints that requiring higher privileges with a key that has limited permissions, expecting HTTP status code for 103 errors. By systematically testing these flows, you ensure that your API enforces security policies correctly. This protects your backend data and services while providing a smooth experience for developers. Following these steps will make backend development more accessible and straightforward for everyone involved.